Hey everybody, this is a new series I was wanting to start this year. It's basically like a recap of everything I've read over the month. I'm gonna do it twice a week. So I mean, every 2 weeks. Once like at the beginning end of the month, and once in the middle. So this being the 31st of January, I figured I'll start it off today. Let's see. The first things I got here. That I've currently read. So I got, comics, of course, for this week. Was a little behind because my comic store doesn't. I don't always go there every week, but got the Batman the animated series. Our Adventures Continue, number 8, which was good. That series has been pretty good. It's not as it hasn't been as fun as the original animated series necessarily, but I like it. I'm supporting it. It's got everything I kind of want in general. They're bringing some characters in that haven't always been there. And then I'm reading the White Knight, Batman, Harley Quinn series from who is it? Katana Collins and Sean Murphy, who are writing it, and then Mateo Escalero. That artwork is fucking amazing. I am enjoying the story. It's a little it's not as like, oh my gosh, or it's just kind of like good. It's solid, but the art is so good in it that I'm like, okay, I have to buy this. So I'm reading Conan. I'm on, what is this, number 18. This series has been hit and miss with me. I'm a big Conan fan, as you might know from the show, from the podcast. But it's really, this run with Zub has been good. The art is kind of weird in this one. It switches from what it was before, but the story has been good since Zub took over, which was like a really cool like trial that Conan had to go through with a bunch of other people, and then now he's just like murdering people with this sword that he won and stuff. So it's pretty crazy. And then my favorite thing that came out this actually came out 2 weeks ago, but my comic book store only got it this week, which was Terry Moore's Serial. This is the #1 issue of Serial, and if you like Terry Moore, you will like this for sure. If you don't like Terry Moore, you need to learn about Terry Moore and read him because he's fucking awesome. So a local Texan, by the way, and one of my favorite comic book writers. Everything he writes is pretty solid. Speaking of Terry Moore, I read his original graphic novel that came out. This is the hardcover that I pre-ordered from his website, but normally it comes out in trade paperback. You can get that at like any normal shop. This one, because I'm a big fan, it's got a ribbon, it's got, hardcover or whatever. So I was being extra fancy because I always miss his hardcovers. For some reason, they always come out. And I miss them, and then they go out of print super fast, and then they're expensive. So I read that. This was really good. This was kind of like I was kind of the whole time wondering like where it was gonna go, where it was gonna lead, and it is like it's a story about like this girl who finds out she's like related to Lilith and like the end of the world / beginning of the world and all this stuff from an angel, and like maybe she's destined for more, like to usher in the apocalypse and stuff. But it's kind of, it doesn't go as where I thought it was going to go, and I wonder if it's going to tie into a bunch of other stuff. He said stuff was going to tie in, so I'm assuming she's going to appear in other things. But it was a solid book. It's like 60 pages too, so it was a really fast read. And then speaking of Conan, if you guys haven't read these, this is, Marvel has the license to Conan the Barbarian. That went back from Dark Horse last year. The Dark Horse run of Conan, pretty much every run of it was fantastic, and I was very sad to see it go back to Marvel because Marvel is Marvel, and they're gonna Marvel it. So they basically like toned down everything and made it like, it's okay. I'll still read it. I'm buying it every month, but it's not like the bloody craziness. And this stuff is. So this is from Ablaze, which is I guess, European company. They are publishing it, as they say. It is Robert E. Howard's famous sword and sorcery hero, uncensored, unrestrained, violent, and sexual. as the stories, read the stories as they were intended. So I will say, for the most part, these stories are great. This is like the first hardcover that came out. It's got 2 stories. It's got the story with Belit. What's that one called? The Queen of the Black Coast. So it's like him and his love being pirates, which is great. The art in it is the only thing that's kind of a little bit throw off because it is very cartoony. It's like kind of Nickelodeon-y or something, but I mean, it is just as violent and graphic, and there are some not nudity, but like, suggestive scenes, we'll say, which is very much like the Dark Horse books, and not so much like the Marvel books. And then we also get the Red Nail series, which also has a cartoony, but this one's more like Cartoon Network style. I thought it reminded me of like, what's that dude? The dude that did Primal, that show. It's kind of very much like his artwork. So, but I really enjoyed that one. That story was badass. So this is the first hardcover. I read that. It was really good. So I've been picking up. I read, I think it's The People of the Black Circle. That's the next arc. And I didn't like that one as much. I think it's the writer just like didn't click. The art was good. It was kind of manga style, but the writing was like just too much. It was like, this guy's writing he's just putting Robert E. Howard's words on the page in chunks or whatever, basically. But I'm also reading the new series that's coming out in single issues, the Frost Giant's Daughter. And this series, like I think I didn't say, but it's called the Cimmerian because they can't use the word Conan because obviously Marvel owns Conan. So the Frost Giant's Daughter is one of my favorite stories, I guess you could say, of Conan. The Dark Horse one is fantastic. If you haven't read the original, this one it starts off great. The first issue, this is the second issue, but the first issue is like, how do we say? There's some mature things, like there's nudity in it. This is the first one with actual nudity in it, which I was surprised. But so yeah, because it's saying, it's Robert E. Howard's Savage Hero Uncensored on everything, and then this is the first one with actual nudity. So that makes sense, I guess, that this guy's like, oh, we can go all out. I'm going to go all out. So the nudity in the first issue is very like sparse. The nudity in the second issue is very much more. So be aware of that. If you're going to buy these, they are uncensored for real. And there's mature themes in there. Of course, the violence. I mean, I don't know who cares about violence in America as much. But like the violence is top notch as far as gore and blood and all that stuff. But I was not expecting the amount of nudity in this one. So that was interesting. But hey, it's Conan. He's just taking what Robert E. Howard suggested and putting it on the page. so we'll say that. And then I am currently in the middle of reading. So this is like what I plan on finishing in February. So February's reading, I got Ed Piskor's Wiggy Wiz, the hardcover. So apparently, I don't know if you guys know, there's a YouTube channel called Cartoonist Kayfabe. You need to read it. If you like comics, you need to watch this show. It's amazing. It's got Ed Piskor, who's a comic creator who wrote this one and drew this one, and Jim Rugg, I believe, who's another comics creator. But for me, Ed Piskor, just watching that channel made me really like him and his style and his artwork. So I picked up Wizzywig, which is his first graphic novel, I believe, from Top Shelf. This is a hardcover. And then he is coming out with a bunch of other stuff. He recently did a bunch of stuff for X-Men that's kind of like breaking down he does a lot of historical stuff. So like the X-Men one is like the entire history of X-Men from like issue 1 to issue 200 or something like that. So he does a lot of stuff like that. And then the next thing I'm reading is the entire Nightfall series in this I don't know what you call these. It's not essentials because they're in color, but it's the original Nightfall series, all of it. Like I'm pretty sure this is the complete Nightfall series. There's 3 volumes of these, a pretty thick, fat books. This is volume 2. I already read volume 1 I read that in December before I was thinking about doing these. So, but 2 has been a little bit harder to get through. So, because it's more 90s, if that makes sense. It's kind of, it's a little bit more cheesy, but I'm down with it. I'm enjoying it. It reminds me of my childhood. It's been solid. Just look at that fucking cover. Look at that belt. Look at that costume. He's got, the garter belt pouches. He's got the pouches on his belt. Everything's amazing in this artwork. But solid writing. The writing's been fun. That's like the main thing that's been good on that. And then I will say, I don't know if you guys read digital comics at all, but there's an app called Hoopla. And so I use Comixology for most of our stuff for the podcast. I'm a big Comixology fan, but I have been reading. I recently found out about Hoopla from another podcast comic book podcast that I listen to called Second Brick Comics, and they were saying, oh, we buy our stuff, or we rent our stuff on Hoopla, because basically it hooks to your library. So if you have a library card, you can go on Hoopla, hook that to your same account, and you can borrow comics on here. So I've been reading Gotham Central, issues 1 through 10, the first trade on here, and it's pretty awesome so far. That's a series I missed, and I'm glad I can pick it up on Hoopla for free and just borrow it for 30 days basically. So that's what I'm reading so far, and what I plan to read next month. Got Wizzywig, got to finish Gotham Central, and Batman Nightfall. Now Gotham Central, I haven't got too far in. I'm like, I think 2 issues in. It's pretty good. Gotham Central, for all you who don't know, it's a Batman series that came out in like 2004. That's basically like a crime detective. It's more like a police procedural or something. It takes place in the Gotham City Police Department. Doesn't focus on Batman so much. It's more arguing about how they feel about Batman, how the cops feel about Batman, not just Commissioner Gordon, but the rest of the cops like Montoya, and we already know what Bullock thinks of Batman, but yeah, some of the other people too. It's been pretty good. So it's a series I missed that I wanted to pick up because it's from Brubaker. Ed Brubaker is one of my favorite writers of all time. Really good crime writer, so check that out. And let me know what you guys are reading. Let me know if I need to pick anything up or if I missed anything. And we'll see you guys on the next one, probably in the middle of February. I think in February I'm also going to be reading for the podcast. We're doing a bunch of Black History Month episodes, so we're going to be reading a bunch of Milestone and a bunch of other comics as well. So a bunch of new stuff that I haven't read before. So let me know what you guys think of this, and if you guys want me to continue, and I guess we'll see you on the next one.